Trip. Malcolm D. Lee has been kind of a journeyman director. He's directed everything from Scary Movie 5 to Welcome Home Roscoe Jenkins to The Best Man Holiday. He's directed a boatload of stuff, boatload of weird movies. You've probably seen a little something by him, kind of these average, slightly below average romantic comedies and such. He has hit a bit of a home run with Girls Trip, though. Film opened this past weekend to $31 million in 2,500 theaters, averaging $12,000 per average theater. By comparison, Dunkirk opened at $50 million and averaged $13,000 per theaters, and that was almost on 1,000 more. Big congratulations, though, to Girls Trip and Malcolm D. Lee, though, and the cast as well, for putting together a film that is pretty funny, not bad at all, not great. It's inevitably going to draw a lot of comparison to Rough Night. Now, let me just get this out of the way first. This is going to be my controversial statement of the night. Girls Trip is funnier than Rough Night. That's the Scarlett Johansson, Kate McKinnon, Jillian Bell comedy that came out last month. Girls Trip is funnier than Rough Night, but Rough Night is the better movie, and I'll explain why. The film follows the creative exploits of four young women: Regina Hall, Queen Latifah, Jada Pinkett Smith, and Tiffany Haddish. The film revolves around them as they are going on a getaway trip to New Orleans to the annual Essence Music Festival, which Regina Hall's Ryan Pierce character is a big shot. She's a keynote speaker over there. She's this kind of Martha Stewart, Oprah-esque figure who does work with her husband Stuart, played by Mike Coulter. Her and her girlfriends were known as the Flossie Posse when they were young and when they were in college, but since then they've kind of separated, gone their own routes and whatnot. So the film largely revolves around their get-together, their reunion of sorts, as they reunite and go to New Orleans for their weekend and such. And they kind of discover a big secret between Ryan and Stuart that eventually goes on to threaten their friendship. A lot of cameos in this film from the likes of Mariah Carey, Faith Evans, Morris Chestnut, Neo, MC Light, who was really cool to see MC Light. She's great as always. That really is what sort of populates Girls Trip, okay? Now, I'm going to get this out of the way first. Here's the reason Rough Night, I think, was a better movie than Girls Trip. I'm just going to say that right now, because I probably have already turned some heads and, kind of irk people. Rough Night was, without credits, about 95 minutes. Girls Trip without credits is about 2 hours. And the problem with Girls Trip is that Girls Trip is very funny for the first hour and a half. Very, very funny. All the girls get their own moments to shine. Tiffany Haddish is a rock star here. The 37-year-old actress from Los Angeles is a knockout in her role. Absolutely dynamite. She played a small role in the film Keanu. And she is very funny, very good here. A lot of lines here. Feels like she's ad-libbing a lot too, which really works for her too. She's great. I think she's really ready to make it big. I really do. The problem with Girls Trip is that it is so exhausting, and it's so by the 90-minute mark, its drama gets really a bit too overbearing. Its characters sort of tread on being a bit annoying as well. There's a lot in the film that really kind of begins to breed contempt in a way. Stuff that was funny within the first hour doesn't work to be as funny during the second hour as well. So there's a lot in the movie that just kind of gets old after a while, and that's the risk you run with a movie like this. This is one of those movies that if it were trimmed about 20 minutes, it could be a very funny, very great, brief movie. The problem is it gets kind of wrapped up into drama that kind of undermines its own point. Some would say it makes its own point. I would say it undermines it. For a movie that's supposed to be about a girls' trip, there's a lot of devotion to kind of drama in this involving male counterparts that doesn't really seem totally fitting. Pretty soon, the story becomes more about Mike Coulter's Stuart character than it does Regina Hall's Ryan character. And that, in my opinion, is what kind of gets a little bit rough, though, around the edges, all right? Girls Trip, however, is very funny. There's a couple really funny including one bum who, including a homeless man in the film that seems to be getting his $5 fix until his true motives are revealed. Some very funny stuff here. Hard to fault the movie for just being good, but it is kind of like, I would compare it to a real night of partying. Once the hangover starts to set in about halfway through the night becomes a little bit less enjoyable. I give Girls Trip, however, a perfectly solid 2.5 out of 4 stars, a B- on Influx Magazine's grade. You can get my review on stevethemovieman.proboards.com.